Okay, so let's start this today's session. Okay, so in the last session, I have explained you about point function, path function, thermodynamic properties, all those things we have seen in the last lecture. Okay, so for the today's lecture, okay, we will see thermodynamic equilibrium. Thermodynamic equilibrium. Thermodynamic equilibrium. So try to understand. Okay, so basic idea behind this is, okay, so when you can call that the body is in thermodynamic equilibrium with another body. See, one body will be in thermodynamic equilibrium with another body only and only when it is in first mechanical equilibrium. It is in first mechanical equilibrium. Okay, it is in first mechanical equilibrium. Okay, so second, it is in thermal equilibrium, and third, it is in chemical equilibrium. Okay, so let me write down. A body is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium with another body only and only when it is in mechanical equilibrium. Okay, when it is in thermal equilibrium, okay, and third, it is in chemical equilibrium, and third, it is in chemical equilibrium. Try to understand. When third, it is in chemical equilibrium. Okay, so when the body is satisfying all these three conditions with another body, then only it is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium. So you can say that one body, it is in thermodynamic equilibrium with another body only and only when it is in mechanical, it is in thermal, and it is in chemical equilibrium with another body. Okay, now what is the meaning of mechanical equilibrium? Okay, see, the simple meaning of mechanical equilibrium is system should be balanced. Okay, the system should be balanced. That means absence of any unbalanced force. Okay, see, let's say consider this as a okay, this is a beam. This is a beam. Okay, simply supported beam. Okay, and let's say you applied some force. Let's say you applied some force. Might be, let's say, 20 kilonewton. Okay, you applied some force. Might be 20 kilonewton. So this 20 kilonewton has to be balanced by the reactions which are generated at the ends. Okay, so if this is the 20 kilonewton, this might be let's say 7 kilonewton on this, and here it might be 13 kilonewton, like that. So your addition, okay, 13 plus 7 is 20, that is going upward, and 20 that is going downward, right? That means your system is in mechanical equilibrium, right? So absence of any unbalanced force. Okay, whenever there okay, see, whenever there is absence of any unbalanced force, that means what? The system is balanced. Then only you can say that the system, it is in mechanical equilibrium. Okay, let's say you applied 20 kilonewton. In order to balance that 20 kilonewton, okay, 7 kilonewton it is generated at this end, and 13 kilonewton it is generated at this end. So addition, okay, 13 plus 7 is 20, that is going upward, and the 20 is going downward. So your system is balanced. Okay, so such sort of thing, it is called as mechanical equilibrium. Okay, let's go to the next thing, that is thermal equilibrium. Okay, what is the meaning of thermal equilibrium? The temperature at any point within the system is constant. Okay, let's consider okay, this vessel, okay, where you have some water inside. Okay, where you have the water inside. Okay, when you measure the temperature here, T1, let's say measure the temperature here, T2, when let's say measure the temperature here, T3, let's say measure the temperature here, T4. So when T1 is equal to T2 is equal to T3 is equal to T4, that means temperature at any point within the system is same, then only you can say that the system, it is in thermal equilibrium. Okay, now next point is chemical equilibrium. Okay, that means there should not be any chemical reaction. Okay, there should not be any chemical reaction within the system. Okay, there should not be any chemical reaction within the system. Okay, that means chemical composition of the system should remain same. Okay, so let me brief you about that. So let's consider, I'll just take the simple example, same example. This is a vessel inside which we have some gas, right? Which we have some gas. Okay, so if you just see the chemical structure at any point, okay, it should be same. Chemical composition at any point should be same. That means there should not be any chemical reaction. Okay, so such sort of system it is called as, okay, it is in chemical equilibrium. Okay, so see, you can say that one body it is in thermodynamic equilibrium with another body only and only when it is in mechanical equilibrium. What is the meaning of mechanical equilibrium? Absence of any unbalanced force, that is called as mechanical equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium, temperature at any point within the system is same, that is thermal equilibrium. And third is chemical equilibrium. That means there should not be any chemical reaction within the system. That means chemical composition of the system, it is constant. So if this is the case, such sort of system, it is such sort of what you can say terminology, it is called as thermodynamic equilibrium. Is it okay? Is it okay? Let me know. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us move. Let us move to the next point. Okay, and that is what is basically known as, okay, quasi-static process. Try to understand. Quasi-static process. Quasi-static process. Okay, quasi-static, it's infinitesimally small process. Okay, quasi-static process, it's a infinitesimally smaller process. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? Okay, I'll just give you a simple example. Okay, let's consider this okay, vessel, okay, or a piston cylinder arrangement where you have this cylinder. This is basically the piston. Okay, on this piston, let's put some weight. Okay, let this weight be 50 kg. 50 kg weight you have it put on the piston. Obviously, inside you have some gas. Okay, so this is basically the piston cylinder arrangement. This is cylinder, this is piston on which you have kept 50 kg weight, inside which you have gas. Okay, now what I'm asking you, okay, you just remove this 50 kg weight. Okay, you just remove this 50 kg weight. So what will happen? Can you let me know what will happen? Just remove this 50 kg weight. So what will happen? So suddenly the piston will move like this. Okay, so the suddenly piston will move, or it is going to occupy the knee position. Is it okay? When you remove this 50 kg, okay, so what happens? When you remove the weight, volume will increase, right? So piston is going to occupy the new position. The piston is going to occupy the new position. So that means what? When you remove the weight 50 kg, the piston will move very suddenly. Okay, it will move suddenly, right? Now next thing is, okay, now see, let me give you the same example. Okay, this is basically the piston cylinder arrangement. Okay, I'll just draw the same thing. Okay, this is our piston. Okay, this is 50 kg. Okay, but instead of having single weight of 50 kg, what I will do, I will divide this into, okay, I'll divide this into, okay, 5 strips of each 10 kg. Try to understand. Instead of 50 kg, I will divide this into 5 strips of each 10 kg. Okay, you can see here, the weight is 10 kg. Okay, weight of the each strip is 10 kg. Okay, now what I will do, I will just remove, one weight at a time. One weight at a time. Okay, let's say now I will move 10 kg. I will remove now 10 kg. Okay, so now what happens is when I will remove 10 kg, okay, the piston will move like this, right? I'll just remove 10 kg. So when I will remove 10 kg, okay, so but still the 40 kg is there, right? So this is 10, this is 10, this is 10, this is 10. See, here it was 50 kg, sorry, 50 kg weight, but it was the 5 strip of 10 kg each. Now I'll remove one strip at a time. So what happens when I remove one strip at a time, the piston will move very slowly. Okay, still there is 40 kg weight on the piston. So again I will move, again I will remove, right? I will remove 10 kg. Again, I will remove 10 kg. Okay, so piston is going to move like this, right? Right? But still there is, okay, still there is 30 kg weight. Okay, that means still there are 3 strips of 10 kg. Okay, now again I will remove one strip. Okay, so it becomes like this. Okay, this is 10, this is 10. Still there is one more strip, 2 more strips. I will again remove it. Try to understand this concept. Okay, but still there is one strip of 10 kg, and now I will remove that strip. Now I'll just remove that strip. Okay, now all of you let me know what you observed between this diagram and this diagram. What you observed? Let me know what you observed. See, when a single weight of 50 kg, when you remove it, the pistol will move very suddenly, right? It will move very suddenly. But when you replace that 50 kg weight by 5 strips of 10 kg each, and if you start removing each strip at a time, what will happen? The piston will move very slowly. The piston will move very slowly. Okay, so basic understanding is when the process proceeds in such a manner that, okay, at every stage the system, it is in equilibrium. See here, when you remove 50 kg, suddenly what happens? Okay, pressure and volume, they are going to change suddenly. Okay, so pressure and volume, they are going to change suddenly. But here, okay, here what you are doing, you are removing smaller weight at every time. Okay, so there will not be any significant change in the properties. Okay, that means your system, it is close to an equilibrium position, and such sort of process, it is called as quasi-static process. When you remove suddenly, what happens? The properties are going to change rapidly. Okay, but when you start removing, okay, smaller weights, what happens? Okay, at every point of time, the system will be in equilibrium. Okay, so such sort of process, it is called as quasi-static process. Is it okay?
Okay.
Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now see what is the significance? What is the significance of this quasi-static process? Okay, why we should learn this quasi-static process? Listen. So purpose to see when we need to produce a work. Okay, so our work production should be maximum. Try to understand. Production of the work or power. We will call it as power. Work or power. Okay, should be maximum, right? We need to produce a maximum work. Okay, at the same time, okay, we need to consume lesser work, right? So consumption of the work or power should be minimum. Okay, is it okay? Power production should be maximum. Power consumption, which are the power producing devices like IC engine, turbines? They are the power producing device where we need to produce a maximum power, right? But if you talk about the devices like compressor, pump, okay, which basically consumes the power, okay, and that power consumption should be minimum, right? So if power production is maximum, power consumption is minimum, then only our efficiency is maximum, right? Efficiency is output by input. Okay, so then only our efficiency will be maximum. Okay, so see what is the significance of quasi-static process? If you operate the power producing devices on quasi-static process, they will produce maximum power. Okay, if you operate power producing devices like IC engine, turbine on quasi-static process, they will produce a more power. Similarly, if you operate power consuming devices like a compressor and turbine, they will consume less power. Okay, so that is a significance of the quasi-static process. Okay, so if you operate, if you operate, okay, if you operate or if you work any power producing devices like turbine, IC engine on quasi-static process, it will produce a maximum power. And if you operate the devices like compressor, pump, which are basically the power consuming devices, they will consume less power. Is it okay? Is it okay, all of you? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear or not? Okay, okay, no problem. So let us now go. Let us go now to the next point. Okay, thermodynamic work. Okay, thermodynamic work. Okay, thermodynamic work. Okay, now try to understand what is thermodynamic work. Okay, see, thermodynamic work, as I told you, okay, work can be produced. Okay, either you can produce the work or you can consume the work. Okay, so these are the only two cases. Okay, so thermodynamic work. Okay, so either you can produce the work. Okay, so production of the work. Okay, or second case, you have the consumption of the work. Consumption of the work. Try to understand. First is the production of the work and second is the consumption of the work, right? Now see, as I told you, which are the devices which produces the work? For example, okay, IC engines, okay, turbines, okay, they are basically the power producing devices. Okay, which are power consuming devices? Okay, like compressor, okay, and then you can have pump. These are basically the power consuming devices. Now see, where the work will be produced only during expansion. So production of the work during expansion. So work will be produced during expansion. Similarly, work is consumed during compression. Try to understand. This is very important. Okay, work will be consumed during what? Compression. Because if you just see the example of compressor, where we are supposed to compress it. Okay, where we are supposed to compress it. I'll just simply draw the diagram. This is pressure diagram. This is volume diagram. So if this is my initial state 1, and if I need to compress it, okay, I need to go it like this. Okay, so this is my state number 2, right? So this is called as compression, right? This is called as compression. Try to understand. So see, in compressor, what happens? In compressor, compression occurs. What is compression? Okay, your pressure increases, but your volume decreases. You can see from when you move from 1 to 2, okay, what happens? Your pressure got increased from P1 to P2. Pressure got increased from P1 to P2, but your volume was decreased from V1 to V2. Volume got decreased from V1 to V2, right? So such process, it is called as compression. Okay, and obviously in compressor, the compression is occurring. Okay, is it okay or not? Let me know. Is it okay? Is it okay, all of you?
Yes, sir.
So in compressor, what happens? Compression occurs. And what is compression? Increasing the pressure, decreasing the volume. That is compression, right? And listen, whenever the power is consumed, it is taken as negative. Okay, so I will write down power consumption is negative. Power consumption is negative. Try to understand. This is very important. Whenever the power is consumed, it is to be taken as negative, right? Let us see the noun, the uppercase, production of the work. Okay, so in consumption of the work, it is compression. So obviously in the production of the work, it's expansion. So obviously expansion and compression, they are exactly reverse processes, right? So if this is the pressure diagram, PV diagram, and this is point number 1, initial state. Now I will expand like this, right? What is expansion? Okay, what is expansion? Pressure decreases, volume increases, right? Your initial pressure was P1, okay? Your final pressure is P2. So pressure got decreased. What is about volume? Volume got increased. Initially it was V1, now it is got right? It is got V2. Right? So here pressure decreases, volume increases, and that is nothing but an expansion. Okay. And whenever work is produced or power is produced, so power production is positive. Power production is positive. Power production is positive. Okay. Power production is taken as positive. Is it okay? The power production is taken as positive. Okay, so whenever power is produced, it is to be taken as positive. Whenever power or work, whenever it is consumed, it is to be taken as negative. So when work is produced, it's positive. Okay, when work is consumed, it is negative. Okay, I'll call this as work or power. Work or power. I'll just write down work or power. Okay, so whenever work or power is produced, it is positive. Whenever work or power is consumed, it's negative. Is it okay? Is it okay, all of you? Okay. So let us see now the next thing. Okay, let us see now the next thing. Okay, what is called as heat? Okay, let us see the next thing. Okay, that is we will talk about more about heat. Okay, so heat is again a form of energy, right? Heat is a what form of energy which transferred by virtue of a temperature difference. Try to understand. Heat is the form of again energy. Heat is a form of, I'll just write down heat. Okay, so heat, what is heat? Heat is a form of energy only. Okay, but which transferred by virtue of a temperature difference, Okay, so now let's take the example. Let's take one steel ball. Okay, let's take one steel ball. Okay, which is at a temperature, let's say 150 degrees Celsius. That we will put it into the water, let's say, which is at a temperature 35. Okay, so this is, let's say, at 0 second. This is the condition. Okay, let's say after 10 seconds. Okay, the temperature of the steel ball, let's say, drop it down 130. Let might be increased by 45 after 20 seconds. Okay, so see what we will be doing, the steel ball which is at 150 degrees Celsius, that will put it into the water which is at 35 degrees Celsius, right? Steel ball which is at 150 degrees Celsius, we will put it into the water which is at 35 degrees Celsius. So what happened? Temperature of the steel ball will decrease, temperature of the water will increase. Okay, so let's take this as 120. Let this be 60. Okay, after 30 seconds. Okay, let this be 100. This be 80. And after 40 seconds, okay, just rough, I'm taking, right? This might be 90 and this might be 90. Okay, let us do that. See, whenever the temperature was here 150 and here the temperature was 35, right? So there was some temperature difference. So heat will flow. So this got reduced to 130, this got reduced to 45. Still there is a temperature difference. So again heat will flow. Okay, again there is a temperature difference. So again heat will flow. Okay, now again there is a temperature difference. So again heat will flow. Now the temperatures are same, right? So further heat will not flow, right? So what happens is, you can see that the steel ball is losing the heat. Try to understand. The steel ball is losing the heat. Okay, at the same time, see, as the steel ball is losing the heat, we will take it as negative. The steel ball is losing the heat, so whatever amount of heat, we will take it as negative. Similarly, the water, okay, the water is receiving the heat. Try to understand. The water is receiving the heat. So when the water is receiving the heat, it is taken as positive. Try to understand. See, amount of heat that is being lost by the steel ball, it is equal to amount of heat that is being received by the water, right? So whatever amount of heat the steel ball will lose, the same amount of heat the water will receive. Okay, so both are equal, but thing is like that, the steel ball is losing the heat, so it's a negative. At the same time, water is receiving the heat, that's why it's positive. Is it okay? Is it okay with this one? Let me know. Let me know. Is it okay? Is it okay or not? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. So let us move to the next point now. Okay, now we will take what is reversible process, what is reversible and irreversible process, and irreversible process. Reversible and irreversible process. Try to understand what is reversible process and what is irreversible process, right? So see, let us first take what is reversible process. Okay, what is reversible process? Okay, reversible process. Okay, now see the what is the meaning of reversible process? The process which can be reversed, okay, without leaving the traces either in the system or in the surrounding. That is called as a reversible process. That is called as reversible process. Okay, see, you might not be able to understand it, uh, the the definition. Okay, I will just give the example of reversible process, right? So I'll just give a first example. For example, see extension and the compression of the spring. Okay, let's take this example. Extension and compression of the spring. Okay, compression of the spring. Okay, let's consider what's one spring. Let's consider one spring, and you just extend that spring. Okay, what happens? We just extend that spring and just what you can say, make it free. Okay, see, I'll give a simple example. Let's take one spring. Okay, let make that spring fixed at one end, and you pull it from another end. Okay, and now leave it. So what happened? After some time, the spring is going to occupy its original position. Is it okay? Is it okay or not? See, just take the example of spring. Either you compress the spring or you extend the spring. Okay, but once you leave it, it is going to occupy its original size and shape. Okay, so that is the example of reversible. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Is it the case? Is it a case? See, the reversible process. What is reversible process? The process which can be reversed. Okay, so see, when you remove the force, let me draw the diagram. Let's consider this fixed end. Okay, to this fixed end you attach one spring. This is a spring which you attached. Okay, this is a initial position. Now to this particular spring, what you do? You apply some force. Okay, you apply some force. To the next process, that is irreversible process. Okay, irreversible process. Irreversible process. Okay, now what is irreversible process? See, let me clear you. Every process occurring in a nature is irreversible. Every process occurring in a nature is irreversible. See, this is a very important statement which I'm telling you. Every process which occurs in a nature, it's irreversible. So if you talk about a reversible process, it's an ideal process. It's an ideal process. This is not an actual process, right? But if you talk about irreversible process, it's an actual process. Okay, there is a difference between ideal and actual. See, you are not able to achieve the ideal process, but you can move close to ideal process. I repeat, it is difficult or impossible. I just stress it. It is impossible to achieve the ideal process, but you can move close to ideal process. Okay, so let us talk about irreversible process. Irreversible process. So every process which occurs in the nature is irreversible. Okay, and all the process which are related to irreversible, they are actual processes, right? So I'll just give a simple example for irreversible process. Okay, that is combustion of air fuel. Okay, combustion of air fuel mixture, right? Combustion of air and fuel, air fuel. Okay, in IC engine. Okay, it's basically the irreversible process. Similarly, the relative motion with friction, relative motion with friction. Okay, so see, inside a piston cylinder arrangement, what happens is inside a piston cylinder arrangement, piston move inside a cylinder, right? Piston move up and down inside a cylinder. So there will be some friction. Okay, that is relative motion of piston and relative motion between the piston and cylinder. Okay, with the friction. So it's irreversible. Is it okay? All of you? Is it okay?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
clear, all of you?
Yes, yes.
Let me know. Okay, so you see, you remember only one thing. Reversible process, they does not exist. They are the ideal process. You might feel that, sir, if these reversible processes are not existing, then why you're teaching this to us? Okay, so I repeat the sentence. It is impossible to achieve the ideal process, but we can move close to ideal process. See, it is difficult to get the 100% efficiency. Okay, but if you are getting 40% efficiency, by some modification you can improve it to 45. Again with some modification, 45 you increase to 55. Like that you can move. Okay, but you will never reach to 100. Okay, because see, ideal, it is a benchmark, okay, which you should target, right? So it is difficult to achieve the ideal, but you can move close to ideal. Okay. Is it okay or not? Let me know. Is it okay with this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let me explain you the what you can say, the basic law of thermodynamics, right? And that law, it is called as zeroth law. That is called as zeroth law of thermodynamics. That is called as zeroth law of thermodynamics. Okay, that is called as zeroth law of thermodynamics. Okay, that is called as zeroth law of thermodynamics. Okay, so what is law says? What this law says? Did anybody have the idea? Did anybody is having idea what this law says? What this law says? Okay, now see,
No,
I'll just
sir.
explain. Okay, see what this law says. Okay, let's consider this body A. Let's consider this body A, and let's consider this body B. Try to understand. Okay, let's consider this body B. Okay, so if these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium, if these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with another body C, try to understand. When both body A and B, when these both body, that is A and B, they are in thermal equilibrium. Try to understand. Thermal equilibrium. I'm writing thermal, not thermodynamic. thermal, it is related with the temperature. So when these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with another body, then you can say that these two bodies are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. Try to understand. When these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with another body, then these two bodies are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. Have you understood this one? Have you understood this one? See, I will explain reverse thing. When you can say that these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with another body, you can say this only and only when these two bodies should be in thermal equilibrium with each other. When you can say that the temperature of these two bodies, it is same as temperature of this body. When you can say that temperature of these two bodies, it is same as temperature of this body. When the temperature of these two bodies, it is same. So no, ये दोनों का टेम्परेचर, ये बॉडी इतना है, ऐसा कब बोल सकते हैं? हाँ, कब बोल सकते हैं? पहले वो दोनों का टेम्परेचर सेम होना चाहिए ना. Yes or no? When you can say that these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with another body, you can say that these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with another body only and only when these two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with each other. Is it okay? Is it okay? See, I will explain you. When you can say that temperature of A and temperature of B is equal to temperature of C, when you can say that temperature of A and temperature of B is equal to temperature of C, you can say this only when temperature of A is equal to temperature of B. Yes or no? Yes or no? Let me know.
Yes, sir.
See, ये दोनों का टेम्परेचर सेम है. ये थर्ड बॉडी इतना, ये कब बोल सकते हैं आप? ये दो बॉडी का टेम्परेचर थर्ड बॉडी इतना ही है, ऐसा कब बोल सकते हैं? पहले वो दोनों का सेम रहना चाहिए ना. So that is the only thing which is it, right? Okay, now see what is the use of this? What is the use of this law? Okay, so this law, it only used for the temperature measurement. So it is used for temperature measurement. Okay, so this is the, what you can say, the use of the zeroth law. So this is used for what? Temperature measurement. Okay, see, I will give a simple example. When I say that body A and body B are in thermal equilibrium with body C, the temperature of the body C is 80 degrees Celsius, then what is the temperature of body B? I repeat, body A and body B are in thermal equilibrium with body C, temperature of the body C is 80 degrees Celsius. What is the temperature of body B?
Sir, 80.
What is the temperature?
40 or 40.
80, sir.
सब मिला पकड़ने का. Okay, so right, anybody can guess anything? What is the temperature
Sir,
of body
80.
C? It
80.
is same, na? See, temperature
Yes,
of
yes.
all, it is same. I told you, if body A and body B are in thermal equilibrium with body C and temperature of the body C is 80, what is the temperature of body B? It is 80, or body A,
80.
it is 80, right? So see, this is the use of zeroth law. But see, this is a use, but this is also the disadvantage of zeroth law. Zeroth law, it only talks about temperature. It doesn't talk about what is the amount of heat, what is the amount of work, right? So it doesn't talks about that, right? So this is a disadvantage of zeroth law of thermodynamics. That is the reason why we need to go for first law of thermodynamics. Is it okay? Is it okay to you? See, zeroth law, it used to calculate only temperature. It doesn't talks about heat and work. Okay, ultimately we are interested in what is the amount of heat and what is the amount of work, right? We want those things. So this we are not able to get by zeroth law. So that is the reason. Okay, that is the reason why we will go for the first law. Okay, try to understand. That is the reason for. Okay, we will go for first law of thermodynamics. Is it okay? Thermodynamics. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now see, first law of thermodynamics, okay, we will apply for two systems. As we have seen two systems. One is closed system we have seen, and second we have seen it as open system. See, in actual we have seen the three systems: closed system, open system, and one more system, isolated system we have seen. I will not go for isolated system because there is no heat transfer, there is no mass transfer, right? There is no works transfer. See, what is isolated system? No energy transfer, no mass transfer. So what you can do with such sort of system? It's nothing, right? You can't do anything with the isolated system. So we will not do for that first law of thermodynamics for isolated system, right? So because you don't have any output from that. So we'll see the first law of thermodynamics for closed system and open system. Is it okay? Is it okay or not? Let me clear. So see, in closed system, again we will see it for cyclic process. Try to understand. Cyclic process, and for non-cyclic process. Try to understand. For non-cyclic process. Okay. We will see for cyclic and for non-cyclic. Okay, I will just give a simple example. What is cyclic? What is cyclic? Okay, let's see this pressure diagram. Let's see this volume diagram, right? See, let's see. We will be starting from point number 1. We will move to point number 2. Okay. Again, we will start from point number 2 and we will reach it to point number 1. Try to understand. We started with 1A2 and we have moved to 2B1 again. So this is called a cycle. This is called as a cycle because your final state is, see, your initial state is 1 and your final state is again 1. So that is called as a cycle. Okay. So if this is the case where your initial and final states are same, then what it does say is, what is the first law of thermodynamics for a closed system undergoing a cyclic process? It says that summation of Q for a cycle is equal to summation of W for a cycle. Try to understand. Simple meaning. Heat transfer is equal to work transfer. That's all. If it's a cycle, whatever amount of heat that you supply, it will be get converted into work. Whatever amount of work you supply, it will be get converted into heat. Okay, that is a law for the cyclic process. Okay, what is the first law of thermodynamics for a closed system undergoing a cyclic process? It says that amount of heat will be equal to amount of work, or amount of work will be equal to amount of heat. Similar, basically, heat transfer is equal to work transfer. Is it okay? Is it okay? Let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's talk about non-cyclic process. Let's talk about the non-cyclic process. Okay, let's talk for non-cyclic process. See, it's not a non-cyclic means what? It's not a cycle. Simple. So, okay, let's see this pressure diagram. This is volume diagram. Let's say this is initial point 1. So I'll move from initial point 1, okay, to point 2. Okay. I'll move from point number 1 to point number 2. I will not return again to point number 1. Okay, so this is your non-cycle. Is it okay? This is not your cycle. It's a process. It's a process. 1A2 is a process, right? See, this cycle, it consists of two processes, 1A2, 2B1. Okay, here it's not a cycle. Okay, so if it is not a cycle, what does it say? Delta U is given by Q122 minus W122. Try to understand. If it's a cycle, then heat will not be equal to work, or heat transfer will not be equal to work transfer. Heat transfer will not be equal to work transfer. There will be some difference between heat transfer and work transfer, and that difference, it is given by change in internal energy. See, try to understand. The heat transfer will not be equal to work transfer. There will be some difference. Between heat transfer and work transfer. See, during this process, Q122 is a heat transfer and W122 is a work transfer. So difference between heat transfer and work transfer, it is given by change in internal energy. Difference between heat transfer and work transfer, it is given by change in internal energy. Difference between heat transfer and work transfer, it is given by change in internal energy. Is it okay? Now, what is this U? U is internal energy. Try to understand. U, it is called as internal energy. U is internal energy. And what is delta? Delta, it is called as a change. Okay, delta is called as change. So delta U is a change in internal energy. Okay, so if it is a non-cyclic, heat will not be equal to work. There will be some difference between heat and work, and that difference, it is given by change in internal energy. Remember this term, change in internal energy. It's not only the internal energy, it's a change in internal energy. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now see, there's one term. Okay, I'll just brief you. There is one term. Okay, see, so this is the derivation which mostly they used to ask it for the exam. Okay, prove that internal energy is property of system. Internal energy is a property of system. Okay, so this is a derivation which they usually used to ask in the exam. Prove that the internal energy is a property of the system. Okay, so how to prove those? Let's see that. Sure. So let's consider this PV diagram. Okay, on the PV diagram, let's consider the initial state 1. Okay, and let's consider the final state 2. I need to move from state number 1 to state number 1 to state number 2, right? I need to move from state number 1 to state number 2. Okay, so okay, what I will do, I will initially move it like this. Try to understand. I will move from state number 1 to state number 2 like this. Okay, I will move from state number 1 to state number 2 like this. Okay, now I will return from state number 2. Okay, let this path be A. I will return from state number 2 to state number 1. Okay, through path B. I will return from state number 2 to state number 1 through path B. Try to understand. Okay, now see 1A2. Okay, let me write down. What is 1A2? See, 1A2. Try to understand. 1A2, it's a non-cycle. I will repeat. 1A2, it's a non-cycle, right? 1A2, it's a non-cycle. So if it's a non-cycle, what do we used to write down? Change in internal energy, delta U. Change in internal energy, delta U. During process A is given by heat transfer during A minus work transfer during A. Is it okay? Just a time before we are written. For non-cycle, delta U is given by difference between heat and work. So that is the only thing which I have written. For change in internal energy during path A is given by QA minus W, right? QA minus W. Similarly, for 2B 1, see, from 2B1, I'm tracing individual process. I'm tracing individual process. For 1A2, okay, delta U is given by QA minus WA. For 2B1, okay, I will calculate delta UB, change in internal energy during path B is given by QB. Okay, I'll just write down that. QB minus WB. Is it okay? Yes or no? Is it okay or not? Yes or no? For path A, see, this is a process and this is again a process, right? So see, for process, heat will not be equal to work. There will be difference between heat and work. Okay, that is what I written. But if you consider this entire cycle, what is called as 1A, 2, right? B, and 1 again. See, this is a cycle, right? This is a cycle. So for a cycle, what does it say? Heat is equal to work. Says or no? Heat is equal to work, right? So for cycle, what does it say? Summation of Q, okay, for a cycle is equal to summation of W for a cycle. Says or no? Summation of Q for a cycle is equal to summation of W for a cycle. So for, see, if you just see the cycle 1A2, 2B1, this cycle consists of two processes. During process A, what is the amount of heat transfer? It is QA. Plus during B, what is the amount of heat transfer? It is QB, right? It is QB. Similarly, this work for the cycle will consist of work during A and work during B. Okay, so that is the addition of WA plus WB, right? Yes or no? Let me know. WA and WB. Okay, so what I will do, I'll just QA minus WA. I'll just bring this WA here. Okay, and QB I will bring it on right hand side, so it becomes minus QB minus WB. Try to understand this equation and this equation, it is one and same. I just rearrange it. Is it okay? Is it okay or not? Let's see. 1A2, it's a non-cycle. 1A2, it's a non-cycle. So this is a law. 2B1, this is again a non-cycle. So this is a law. But if you consider, I will repeat, 1A2, it's a non-cycle. So this is a law. 2B1, it's again non-cycle. So this is a law. But when you consider 1A2B1, okay, it's a cycle. So in the cycle, heat is equal to work. So heat during a cycle, it is equal to heat during A plus heat during B. Similarly, work during cycle is work during A plus work during B. If you rearrange it, you will get it like this. Is it okay? Is it okay or not? Let me know. Is it okay with this one or not? Is it clear? Is it clear, all of you? Is it clear, all of you? So see, instead of moving from B, I will move through path C. Try to understand. Instead of moving through path B, I will move through path C. Okay. So see, 1A2 will remain as it is. 1A2, for 1A2, our delta UA. See, for 1A2, what is change in internal energy? It is QA minus WA. Okay. Now, for 2C1, instead of moving through path B, I will move through path C. Okay. So my path is 2C1. So for 2C1, what is change in internal energy? Internal energy during path C is given by QC minus WC. QC minus WC, right? Now I will consider a cycle 1A2 C1. See, 1A2 C1. See, initially my cycle was 1A2 B1. Now my cycle is 1A2 C1. Okay, I will return through path C. I will move from 1 to 2 through path A only. But initially, when I need to move from 2 to 1, I have moved through path B. Now I am moving through path C. Okay, so here again the same equation will appear. So Q for a cycle is equal to again summation of W for a cycle, right? Summation of W for a cycle. Okay, now if you consider the cycle 1A2 C1, it consists of A and C. Okay, so this is QA plus QC. Similarly here, it is WA plus WC. Yes or no? Work done during C. So if you rearrange it, you will get it like QA minus WA is equal to minus QC minus WC. Yes or no? You'll get it minus QC minus WC. Is it okay? Yes or no? So what is this?
Yes,
What is QB minus WB? What is QB? What is QB minus WB? It is what? It is delta UB. Delta UB, right? You can see QB minus WB. QB minus WB, delta UB. Similarly, what is QC minus WC? QC minus WC, delta UC, right? So that is delta UC. Okay? Delta UC. So if you compare these two equations, what you will get? You will get change in internal energy during B is same as change in internal energy during C. You can see, if you just see the QA minus WA is this one, and QA minus WB is this much, right? So what you can say, this right hand side is equal. So that is what is written, right? What do you understand from this one? Change in internal energy through path B, it is same as change in internal energy through path C. Whether you go through path B or whether you go through path C, the change in internal energy is same. That means internal energy, okay, internal energy doesn't depends on path. Okay, internal energy doesn't depend
सर
upon
दूसरे सर
path.
लेक्चर के लिए बोल रहे सर
Yes, and hence its point function, and hence its point function. Is it okay now? Today, have you understood this one? Have you understood this
Yes, sir.
derivation? Okay, have you understood, all of you? Have you understood?
yes, sir.
Okay. So today we will stop, and in the next lecture we will take the rest of the remaining, right?
can I leave
Okay. Yes, all of you can leave.
thank you sir